Hey guys, this is Dissb. This is footage of my Sith Inquisitor Sorcerer. Currently I'm running an 18 Lightning 23 Madness spec, and it's a slight variation to what I posted on my blog earlier. What I did was I dropped some of my defensive capabilities such as improved static barrier, backlash, and a lower whirlwind and higher jolt time to pick up a little more damage from affliction. And the reason I drop my defensive capabilities is because if I'm pre-kiting such as here, I really don't have a need for backlash because no one's ever going to get to me. If they happen to pop on me, I can always use my instant whirlwind, and that's, it doesn't happen that often. So I decided to pick up an improved affliction, longer duration, and more damage. This build is completely based around mobility. Mobility is everything to your sorcerer, and it all begins with affliction, and that's the reason why I wanted to increase its damage, increase its length, because it all begins with Lightning Barrage. Lightning Barrage is the first proc you're gonna want to have, and the way I do it is I cast Affliction on multiple targets so I can get that proc. Once you get Lightning Barrage to proc, you have two spells that you can either cast, Crushing Darkness or Chain Lightning. Now, most people just cast Chain Lightning because it definitely does more damage, but for me it's a little more situational. If I can get a death field on and they're marked for taking 20% more damage from your dots, I will cast Crushing Darkness if there's only a single opponent. But there's a lot of factors you should consider. Who your target is. Is he a healer? How much health he's at? How much health you're at? What sort of distance do you have between him and you? Do you have your potions on cooldown? These are all things that you should consider when casting Crushing Darkness or Chain Lightning. Here's a good example of why I dropped some of my defensive capabilities. All I'm gonna do is shield, whirlwind, force speed, and I'm safe. Think about it. Having that extra 20% static barrier or backlash wouldn't have made a difference in that scenario. Will it make a difference in some scenarios? Absolutely. But for the most part, if you play cautious and have good overall awareness of your cooldowns, of where the enemies are, you shouldn't have a problem. You have enough defensive capabilities at your disposal. Now I happen to be solo pugging, and when I solo pug, I don't rely on anyone. I don't think I'm going to get heals. I don't think people are going to assist. I don't have any expectations for my team. So the role I like to play when I solo pug is I like to be, I think of this game a lot like football. And the best analogy I can give is I like to be the free safety. No one gets past me, and I kill everyone, and I try to control the middle. Unfortunately, killing people isn't necessarily good in this war zone. And the reason I say that is this war, every time I kill someone, it's sending them back to their spawn, which happens to be the end zone. So it's going to make it very difficult for our team to score because they're getting this non-stop, constant replenishment of reinforcements. But hey, eventually, they will score. One of the most important factors in Huttball when you're playing what I call this free safety position is keeping the right amount of distance. The distance I am with this guy right here is just about the right distance. You'll be able to cast a lot of your spells from maximum range. You'll see whenever they move forward, you move back. When they move backwards, you move forward. And it's all about proccing. So here I proc my Lightning Barrage, which leads to a Chain Lightning. In a second here, I'm going to go after the carrier, but I notice I have Lightning Barrage, so I'm just going to use it up on this guy, and it ends up proccing my Wrath. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I dot this guy Death Field. Since there's two of them, I'm going to Chain Lightning, and I'm just going to run away for a sec, come around him, and he eventually dies. Whenever you have periods where you're not endangered, this is the best time to take a look at your hotbar and see what's on cooldown. Currently, looking down at my hotbar, I have nothing on cooldown, and when I look at my buffs, I have no procs. So the first thing I want to try to do is proc my Lightning Barrage. I see this guy is starting to cast Tracer Missiles. I'm going to jolt him, because I have a feeling he's just going to keep casting that over and over. And then I'm going to stun him. I'm going to get my proc, and you see I proc Wrath, and I'm going to Chain Lightning him, and he's going to eventually die from my shock. But you should always be looking at your hotbar as well as your buff bar to see what procs you have going. So I see the enemy has the ball, so I'm going to go after him. I'm going to take a quick look again. I have Wrath up. Probably should have casted Wrath first, but I did go for Affliction. Affliction procced my Lightning Barrage, so I just ended up Force Lightning. So I still have my Wrath available to me. I'm going to fast forward a minute or two here, and I want to show you something. Some people have asked why I pick up Lightning Spire, and the reason I like it is for that improved range of Chain Lightning. Here I'm going to try, you see I have my Lightning Barrage, I'm going to try to proc it. They're running away from me, and here I'm actually able to cast Chain Lightning on both those targets. Another thing I want to talk about is overall awareness and positioning. There's nothing more important in this game than those two factors. Here I'm targeting this guy in the corner, and this Sorcerer starts Force Lightning me. The very first thing I want to do is get myself out of a position of where I could have got sandwiched. Now, you see at that point there's a Marauder that comes in and could have easily sandwiched me, but instead I'm at this distance back here, and I don't have to worry about anyone behind me. For those of you that followed me from Rift, you know I've always preached keeping maximum distance, and this game is no different. It's probably more important to keep your distance and know your limitations. Here, this guy's running away. I'm going to dot him up, and I've cast Death Field on him. Now, the first thing I want to do is try to proc my Lightning Barrage, and as soon as I do, I'm going to cast it, I proc my Wrath, and this time I'm going to use Crushing Darkness because he has Death Mark on him. And he eventually dies, but it's very, very good rotation of exactly how you want to attack someone. So whenever I see two targets clumped up together, the first thing I want to do is drop my Death Mark. Hits pretty hard, saw there, just over 2,000. And I know this guy here named Jax is marked. So he's got Affliction on him, and when I proc my Lightning Barrage, I actually casted Chain Lightning opposed to Crushing Darkness, which would have been the better spell at that time. Here's another good example of positioning. As I run down this ramp, there's an enemy here, and I'm gonna run away from that enemy, and now look, he's completely sandwiched by three of us. Don't ever put yourself in a situation like that. You know, you don't have to be the best DPSer. All you have to do is position yourself. I put that guy in a position that was not favorable for him, and he eventually died. Another thing I use to my advantage is see how your opponents react to you. Now this guy Jax obviously saw me, but he chose not to go after me. So I'm just gonna light him up and kill him. Remember, give or take what's given to you, but you can set up what they give to you just by where you move, how you act. You know, whether you're charging them, whether you're backing them up. You can always, what's called bait someone to you. And it's something that it's a technique I use in Rift so often. eventually people, such as that example where Jax just decided not to even attack me because he knew he has no chance. And that is ultimately going to be your best defense. If you can learn how to defend and how to make it just nearly impossible for anyone to kill you, it's really going to deter your opponent from ever attacking you, period. I've always been one to preach defense is your best offense, and there's something that I'm a little on the fence still, is whether to use an endurance pot or a willpower pot. I'm currently using a willpower pot, and I've tried 2 different variations of stacking higher endurance, and I can get my endurance up, or my hit points up to like 17,500, maybe even 18,000. But currently I just don't feel the need for that much endurance. With under a minute left, I'm just going to grab the ball and look to pass it. Passing is very tricky in this game. You always want to lead your passes. So I'm going to pass it to this guy right about there, and he actually makes this abrupt stop, and the pass becomes incomplete. Anyhow, I hope everyone was able to pick up a few little tips on how to improve your gameplay on your Sith, Inquisitor, Sorcerer. Thank you again for watching. This is Dissb. If you like what you see, hitting the subscribe button as well as the like button goes a long way. Thanks.
Mighty Gerard of the Hutt declares the Frog Dogs today's winners. Honor and recovery is